And the demand is the crazy part that you brought up, that I don't think anybody's fully understanding and seeing the writing on the
Yeah.
wall. Because
So we did a whole like week long operation just to figure out what is the demand. And so we had 10 female undercovers posting ads for prostitution. And we had this cool algorithm, computer algorithm that captured people's IP address when they clicked on the link for our ad. And so we already had some identifying information for these people. And then when they called us, we got their phone number. Then we're working towards, in the back side of things, identifying them. And in that weeks long operation, we would engage in conversations about sex for money. And we would get to the point, if you've ever called an escort, it's a 3 call process.
I have not. I'm glad you told me that.
Typically it's, hey, what kind of rates do you have, what kind of things can I get, and what part of town are you in? And then they call back and say, hey, I'm close by, where's the hotel? And then the last call is what room number. Anyway,
I would like to buy one sex, please.
so
Cop.
basically it is in that week long operation, in when we establish the crime. The next call, when they called back for the room number, I've already sent them on the opposite side of town on purpose because I wanted them to waste their time and their gas. But they call and they say, I'm here. And I introduce myself as Detective Chance with the Phoenix Police Department, Human Trafficking Unit. We've captured your IP address, Bill. And I'd refer them as their real name to get that oh shit factor, like, holy shit, this really is the police. And in an attempt to give them a warning, and we only did it that 1 week. Like, we're not giving warnings for these guys, but this was just to do this operation to determine the numbers. And basically, we determined based off all of those parameters and clicking on our ads and during times and how often and all of those things, 100,000 men are buying sex in Arizona
In a week.
daily.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Daily.
yeah. In Arizona, the whole state. But it's one of those things where we wanted to know how bad the problem was. And when people ask how bad is Arizona, there's ranking, but there's really not a way to put numbers to this whole thing unless you're doing operations like that and can project based on this activity. This is what we're seeing. But for victims, people put out there's 27 billion victims in the United States. We have no idea. We can't put a number because we don't have victims that come forward and tell us. We do usually have to go find them. And so there really isn't a way to put a number on how many victims. We know how many we've recovered, but there are so many more out there that we haven't.
That's insane. Holy shit. That isn't. I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah,
Wasn't ready for that
a
number.
lot. And so that's where this whole problem would be eliminated if we could stop the demand.
Yeah.
And that's part of my awareness too, is I talk about sex buyers. I talk about how they're not remorseful for what they're doing. I talk about how they don't recognize that they're contributing to this problem. I talk about the consequences now and how it's getting worse for buyers, which rightfully so it should be. And so part of that is a deterrent to attack the demand.
And the other part that is, so the argument's going to be it's a victimless crime. That's going to be the argument from people that either one don't understand, or two, just like you said, that's the type of mentality these bad guys are taking, is that it's not hurting anybody. So,
Yeah.
what's your take on that?
Well, I mean, just like we've already talked about, someone that's offered false promises, coerced, or forced, which are the elements of human trafficking, sex trafficking, they are a victim. They are being exploited. They don't have the ability to give consent to what's happening to them knowledgeably. And, we need to have the public also recognize that as well, that they are victims. I mean, we're already behind. We're trying to repair that relationship, and we need victims to see that also. Um, yeah.
What's the percentage that you would say is juveniles that are being victimized?
Um, I don't know what we could put a number to that because we don't know how many juveniles that.
I mean, in your experience, like is the majority of the ones that you've dealt with juveniles, or
I can tell you that since COVID, there is a stat out there that there's been a 93% increase in child sex trafficking because of COVID, not because of the COVID disease, but
right?
because the parents that had to go to work still and their kids are left home because the schools are closed and they're unattended and they're on their computers or their phones and predators just poured in. So that's where that number comes from. And I would
Okay.
say that would be a
Okay.
good example of this problem magnified
All
in the
right.
last couple of years.
Okay. Um, well, you have opened my eyes up even more. I think I'm a pretty knowledgeable guy. I have an ear for a lot of this stuff, but between you and Randall Snyder,
Yeah.
Jesus, depressing me. I gotta hold on to my kids tight at night
Yes.
because it makes me nervous. Um, is there anything that you want to hit on? Anything we
Well,
didn't cover that you would like to hit on?
yeah, just for and we saw my website for the general public. I do have that course that I created that talks through all of this as far as that evolution that I was hinting to, and more about victim vulnerabilities, sex buyers, and then traffickers. And then I also touch on resources, indicators, how to report, where to report, and how to get involved.